This is where you will know what's happening, where you will be able to connect with us and keep up with the events and all the good stuff that are happening here at the center. Feel free to use the Q&A box to ask any questions you have during the webinar. You don't have to wait till the end to ask your questions. So I'm inviting you to use the Q&A box during the webinar to ask your question. And this webinar is recorded. All our webinars are recorded. They are posted on the website. So you can always go back and review, rewatch some of the stuff that we discuss here and keep learning, keep growing as an entrepreneur. So I'm going to share a quick video just introducing the center and a little bit of what we do here.
Let's talk about entrepreneurship. It's the light bulb moment from your first big idea. It's the decision to set out on a new path. It's the realization that entrepreneurship starts with a spark, and that spark starts here. At the Stu Clark Center, we're here to nurture your ideas and help spark your entrepreneurial spirit. How? How about competitive opportunities to free your inner entrepreneur? Advice from venture coaches who have walked the walk, or some of the best networking events you'll find on campus. You'll find it all right here. By focusing on education, awareness, community, coaching, and connection, we build strong relationships with our students and do everything we can to help them on their journey to self-starting. At the Stu Clark Center, we thrive when you thrive. No idea is too big or too small. The Stu Clark Center is your one-stop shop for everything you need to start your journey. So why not start today?
Why not start today? I really love that line because there's no right or wrong time to learn about entrepreneurship, to become an entrepreneur. So again, my name is Karen Bado. I am the venture coach here at the Stu Clark Center, and I really enjoy talking to students, talking to people that are interested about entrepreneurship. Again, this is a little bit of my background. I have a bachelor in business administration with a major in accounting. So you may wonder how come I'm now a venture coach. I have worked with a non-for-profit organization, and now I am working with entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs, business owners, providing guidance in financial strategy and business plan writing. And I'm also an entrepreneur. So this is a little bit of my background and my passion on helping entrepreneurs. And I'm not alone here. We have a team of very passionate, driven individuals that are looking to support students that are looking to learn about entrepreneurship. So we have Deborah Jonathan-Young, the director of the center, Lindsay Friesen, our marketing coordinator, Amy Jones, our event coordinator, program coordinator, and Melinda Sasek, our office coordinator. So the office is located on the second floor within the Trade building. We are open Monday to Friday from 8:30 to 4:30. And we also offer online meetings. So if you are not comfortable coming in person in the office to meet with me, you can use Startup Tree, a very easy to manage platform. Create an account, select the date and time that works for you. You can pick an in-person meeting, or you can choose an online meeting, and you will be getting an email confirming the link and the details, and you will be good to go to meet with the venture coach. Again, it doesn't matter the stage of your journey. Maybe you just have a question, or you are actually running a business, or you are raising funds. So regardless of the stage of your business, I would love to chat with you. So always feel free to book a meeting to discuss your ideas. As I said, we are almost wrapping our winter session. We have 2 more webinars left after this one, and I'm encouraging you to go and register now. Those topics are very, very important. The next one is about mental health. And it's not just entrepreneurs. We want to make sure that we address entrepreneurs, staff, anybody that is really looking for answers for some of the trendiest topics, such as mental health. And this one, we have a special guest, a mental health advocate, and we cannot wait to have her coming on April 5th to discuss the topic of mental health in entrepreneurship as well as outside of entrepreneurship. So basically, anyone is welcome to attend. So feel free to join, invite a friend, share the invitation around in your community. And then the last one is about social enterprise. I have a few requests on that one. People wondering how they can run a business and still support the community, still do good with the environment and sustainability. So this is a very great topic, and I would love for you to register for that one as well. So we are going to talk about what happened next after you've written a business plan. This is actually the moment where it becomes reality. So you've done the work. You started writing your business plan. You did your market research. You validated your idea. You talked to potential customers. You've learned about the industry regulations and all the stuff that you need to understand before even considering launching a business. Now you have this 40 pages document, sometimes more heavier than that, and you are overwhelmed. You are wondering, how can I make my business a reality? Because up to that point, it's still very much documentation and creation and ideation. So it's still very up there. Now it's the moment to take action. So today, this is the agenda that we have before even starting making revenues or talking about becoming a real venture or business. You need to understand how to do business in Canada. I consider that you are a Canadian resident, whether you have temporary residence or permanent residence, or you're Canadian or you're an international student. So regardless of your status, as long as you consider Canada your residence and you are thinking of opening a business, there's a few information that you will need to understand. There's regulation that you and your business will need to abide to. The second point is funding. This is also a very great important step in bringing your business to life, because if there's no financials, if there's no revenues, if there's no money, basically there's no activities. So we are going to discuss that on the second point. The third point, I will give you 5 tips to help you prepare for a successful launch. Because you can launch and that can be a poor launch, but we want to make sure that you consider different things to strengthen your journey to launch, because it's a process to get to a point where you can finally make the first sale, you can finally host users on your platform, you can have customers engaging and purchasing your product or your service. And then the fourth point is takeaways from the whole presentation. So I'm just gonna quickly do a quick poll here. I want to make sure that I get a good sense of the audience. So my first question is, are you interested in entrepreneurship? And there's no right or wrong answer. I'll just leave the poll here for a few more seconds, just to get a sense of the type of audience that I have. And again, there's no right or wrong. If you're not sure, that's okay. If you are sure, that's even perfect, because you came to the right place today. Okay, perfect. I'm just gonna share. So great. Everybody's interested to entrepreneurship. So that's perfect, because this topic is really, it's really catered to entrepreneurs that are ready to take the next step. So if you're not quite sure, you can always book a meeting with me. If you're just at the ideation stage, or you even wonder how entrepreneurship can become a reality for you, feel free to discuss. But today it's about taking the step to launch, to become an entrepreneur. So I'm asking this question because once you've done all the work, once you've done the administrative stuff, which I call writing a business plan, you are ready to become an entrepreneur. You are ready to start a business activity. So as I mentioned earlier, as resident in Canada, whether it's a permanent residence or temporary residence, if you are looking to start a business, you will have to abide by the laws, by the business laws. We did a webinar in collaboration with the Kerry Vicar Law Clinic, and I'm encouraging you to go back and review that because that was really in-depth, learning about the legal frame of running a business in Canada. So those 3 points are just giving you some basics on how to start. You first need to register your business, and you will need to look for a name, make sure that nobody else or no other business has the same name. Secure that name. Once it's secured, you will now complete the next phase, which is registering the business. In Manitoba, this is governed by the Companies Office, and everything has been digitalized. So you came at the right moment in history. You don't have to write a letter or print everything and go to the office. You can register everything online and have a business by tomorrow. Basically, have a business name and a business number by tomorrow. It is the same with the Revenue Canada. If you have to charge GST or PST, any HST, any tax that you will have to charge, you need to have your business number, and depending on the revenues that you are making, you will be required to have a GST number. So it is important to contact these two offices. So your provincial office, which in Manitoba is the Companies Office, and your federal office, which is CRA, Canada Revenue. They manage the taxation rules. So you really want to make sure that you are starting off with setting the administrative requirement before starting a business, right? The second point is to learn about the different government regulation regarding your business. So in Canada, you have the federal government, provincial government, and municipality government. So all of these different three government agency, I'm going to repeat myself, but that's the word that come in my mind, have different rules when it comes to managing any business activities. So you have to make sure that you check the Manitoba taxation division. Everything has been digitalized again, so you can go online and contact the Manitoba taxation office just to learn about the provincial taxes that you will have to charge. So if you are selling goods, you are requested to charge the PST. So I think that's the 7% tax that you have to charge. So you really want to learn about these rules, because those are regulation. If you fail to remit that money to the government, you are incurring risk of being fined, and you don't want that to happen at the early stage of your business. Everything is online. There's an email, there's often a telephone number that you can contact, and you can have this conversation with the appropriate department. We've talked about CRA as well for the GST remittance. If you are to be hiring, there's also taxation involved and remittance involved when you start hiring people. So you want to learn about that. The third thing is permit and licensing. And I believe if you've written a business plan, you already have a good understanding on the type of requirement, the types of permits and license that you will need to be operational. So it's very, very important to make sure that you apply for those permits. If you are a restaurant, if you are handling food, you will have to have a permit. You will have to have the license to be able to do that before selling food to anybody. It's very, very important that you understand that as soon as you become a business here in Canada, there are regulations, and that will be the first step in bringing your business idea to life. It will be to first register the business, making sure that you've applied for the permit, the licenses that you need, and making sure that you've registered to remit the tax that you are collecting. Now that you've done all this, and this can happen during the process of writing a business plan, as long as you are committed as an entrepreneur to give this a full try. Because sometimes some entrepreneurs may write a business plan to see if this is even a viable idea, and they may come to the conclusion of understanding that, okay, this is not a viable business idea, I am not going for it. Other entrepreneurs are actually very confident in the idea, and they are motivated to bring that idea to life. And this is when I am advising you to take the next step and make sure that you register the business, that you pick the right legal frame. Go back to the webinars that we've done with the law clinic. If you have any questions, always reach out to me or to someone at the law clinic to discuss the legal aspect of running a business in Canada. The second point that is a very, very important point when you start preparing to launching your business is the funding. You need money, whether it's personal savings or gift, financial contribution from family and friends, or investors or bank. At a certain point, you come to a point where you need financial support to be able to run the business. And this can become very accounting oriented, which is my background, so I can really make that complicated, but I'll keep it basic for today. Just give you what you need to think about in terms of funding. So you need to think about your startup capital. So when you've written your business plan, you came to a financial conclusion that you will need a specific amount of money to start operating. So that's what is called your startup capital. And that capital is money that you will need to purchase asset or to purchase operational equipment, anything that you need to start the first sale. In other cases, your capital can also include research and development. Let's say you are working on an innovative technology and you're looking for financial support to be able to develop a prototype, and that can also be a part of your startup capital because you really need that money to be able to have something that you can use to test your assumption or to test the market. So very, very, very important section of the business plan. So when you write a business plan, I absolutely recommend you to make sure that those numbers are real. Make it closer to the reality if it's possible. Get some estimate from potential suppliers, get some estimate from partners. Try to make it as realistic as possible, because this is the moment where if you've done a poor operational and financial projection work, it's going to be reflected when you actually need the money to make it a reality. So spend a lot of time building your business plan properly so that when you get to that plan of going out and asking for money, you have strong assumptions to really back your asking. And there's different ways to raise fund or to fund your business. It's becoming more popular that people will use dilutive versus non-dilutive. So if you're not familiar with what that means, it simply means that you can either give out a little bit of equity to get funding, or you can keep your ownership, which is equity. You can keep full ownership of your business and find other ways to fund your business. So that can be done through financing, debt financing. We've talked about that. We had Futurepreneur as well, providing a little bit of insight on how they can support entrepreneurs with debt financing. And basically those are debt. Grants sometimes can come up with a specific amount that sometimes the entrepreneur will have to cover some of the expense and then reclaim some of the expense under grants. So grants are a great way as well to access funding. It can be a little bit more selective, but there's other ways that you see here on the slide. There's different ways to raise fund without giving out equity. And there's other ways to raise fund and give equity away. It's a little bit more tricky. It requires having lawyers involved, having mentors involved to really help you make the right decision when it comes to giving equity. It seems like the easiest way to have money, but it can be tricky. Again, when you're starting off, you want to make sure that you just don't give away your company, that you don't give away control. And even those VCs and venture capitalists or angel investors can be difficult to convince. Depending on the type of ventures, depending on the type of business that you have, some may require you to be already a little bit more advanced, so post revenues. Some will look at having more equities, maybe more control. So you really want to make sure that you surround yourself with mentors, with the advisors that understand the process of dilutive funding, right? So some of the few questions that you can ask yourself when you start going down that road of looking for investors, you are ready to raise funds, you are ready to give out equity, you want to make sure that you know exactly how much you need. If you don't need 20 million, please don't go and ask for 20 million because that will cost a lot to the company. Reminding yourself that investors are looking for interest. They're no different than banks. They're no different than lending organization. They probably have a little bit more flexibility in terms of providing that money fast with little guarantees, but leaders is, again, super tricky in terms of financing here. So they may be offering a lot of money, but in return, you have to make sure that you understand, that you do your due diligence before signing any agreement. And those are the questions that you want to ask yourself. How much do I need? If you don't need that much money, please do not request for that much money, because it comes with the responsibility of providing returns of that investment. You need to be understanding of the milestone that you will need to achieve before asking for a certain amount of money. If you are still prototyping, if you are still testing your assumptions, and you're not even quite sure if the model is going to work, if it's going to be a successful service or product, you really want to consider it maybe bootstrap or self-funding. Because again, you are giving away a portion of your company. Sometimes you are promising returns to these investors and they will come after their money. So you really want to make sure that you are timing your request with how well your business is doing. If you do not need to have VCs involved at this stage of the business, keep growing your business, keep finding ways to bring the money in, and work on your business and get to a point where you feel like this is a valuable business and you can now go after the VC. You want to make sure if you are running a social enterprise, if it's a charity, if you have that community aspect in the services that you are providing, you really want to make sure that you are bringing people on board that are also aligned with your mission statement, with your goal and your vision as a founder. So that can be an extra layer of questions when you meet with people, when you meet with investors or partners. You really want to make sure that you associate yourself with the right people so that it doesn't hurt your brand on the long run. There's a lot of scandal in the business space. Some people will come up with a scandal, and maybe you want to make sure that you protect your brand, you protect your business, and you only sign up a partnership when you have done all your due diligence of understanding of checking the background of the investor or checking the background of the partner to make sure that this will not damage your reputation if something comes up later on in the future. You want to understand how to do due diligence. Again, this can be very accounting and legal driven. So you want to have the right team, especially when it comes to emitting shares. This is not something that you can do on your own. You have to talk to an accountant, you have to talk to a lawyer, you have to do a business evaluation to think about, okay, how much is my business worth for me to give out shares? Or how much will my business be worth on the long run to give out shares? So there's different important things to take into consideration when you get ready to raise, such as a business valuation. You want to make sure that you're not starting with a cheap share to realize later down the road that, oh, I should have probably priced up my shares. Now I could have had more money, but it's too late. So make sure that you talk to an accountant, make sure you talk to a lawyer, and you conduct the process of due diligence. Again, those are few questions that you can ask yourself if you are thinking of diluted funds for your business. There's no right or wrong way to raise money. You really have to learn about what's out there. And it can be a combination of different choices. You can go with debt financing, maybe a specific amount. Once you've proven that the business model is working, you can now seek investors or angel investors or partners. So there's really, it's a combination of things. If you have any questions on that, feel free to book a meeting. I specialize in financial strategy, and this is one of my favorite topic to coach on. So how do you apply for funding? Now that you've chosen one way to raise fund, or maybe you already put aside some personal money and you have friends or family, maybe you did a crowdfunding, so you have a little bit of fund, but you still look for external investors. The first thing is to write a business plan. Many investors or lending organization will request a business plan. Now, some will request for a lean version of your business plan. So they may ask for maybe 3 pages of overview or 5 pages. Some may ask for full 40 pages. So you will really have to look at the different criteria that the lenders are looking for, or the investor is looking for, and craft something. And that's why I always encourage entrepreneurs to write a business plan. Because once you've done this whole exercise, and you have that 40 pages document, it is very easy to pull out the requested information without having to sit down and type everything from scratch every time you have to go out and apply for a grant or for funding. So once you have it there, it is your business Bible, it is a guideline. You can always go and capture some information that organizations are looking for to be able to grant you the money, and it makes everything easy. So write a business plan. Determine how much you need. Some bank can come and say, oh, we can give you 100K for your business, but do you really need 100K for your business? Would you be able to reimburse that in the timeline and the repayment condition that the lender is offering? So you have to be cautious and pace yourself when it comes to applying for fund. Identify potential investors, connect with VCs, network. We had our business competitions a few weeks ago, and those are the type of event that I'm encouraging you to check out, and connect with people, connect with investors, connect with organizations that can support you and hold your hand when it comes to applying for funding, because it can be overwhelming. It can be deceitful when you get a lot of no's, when you feel like you do not qualify. So there's a little bit of work when you start applying for funds that you need to put into, and you may not be an expert in finances, you may not be an expert in accounting, and you can surround yourself with a community of mentors to help you guide you through that process of raising funds. You want to practice your pitch. We've said it, this is the first impression you get with an investor. This is the first impression you get with a partner, even if you're looking to hire someone to join your team. I don't know you. So you have to make a good impression. You have to be able to convince people that this is not a fluff idea, that this is something that is realistic. This is something people have interest in. It's gonna work. So there's a little bit of work that comes when you have to work on pitching. So it's a great way as well to find opportunities. And sometimes you will end up with a business card for someone directly in an organization, so you don't have to go on a website and fill out a form. Once you have a person, once you've made that first connection with someone, it is so much easier to get the support that you need, because you end up with a contact, someone you can follow up with and make sure that you are not just another number, you are not just another applicant, you actually had the chance to defend your business case. So very, very important point. Make sure that you understand how to do due diligence when you meet with these investors and they start asking for equities versus shares. You want to feel that you are not alone in that room. So you want to have that conversation prior meeting an investor. Maybe have a conversation with people in the community. And I cannot praise enough the entrepreneurial community that we have here in Manitoba. We have a webinar where we brought Northforge, MyTax, Lab to Market, Futurepreneur was here as well. Take a look at the Stu Clark Center website. We have a whole page of partners. Go in there, connect with people, make sure that you surround yourself with experts to help you navigate that aspect of preparing for launch. Thing to consider for a strong financial strategy. You really want to understand the legal foundation of running a business, the financial implication as well. We talked about that from the get-go. Set up your business on an accounting software. Pick a fiscal year, which is a 12 consecutive month of business activities. Usually people will make it easy to line up with CRA fiscal years, meaning that January to December, but it doesn't have to be January to December. You can go, like at a university, it is actually April to March. And it really depends on your activity. And you can take a look at when you feel the activity is peaking the most and kind of time your finances and your fiscal year around that. But make sure that you work with an accountant. If you're not quite sure how to do this, entrepreneurs are wearing so many hats. If this is taking so much time out of your time, connect with an expert. Connect with an expert, learn, and put all of these expenses in your startup capital. This is why you need to make sure that you are considering all these costs when you build your financial projections, because it's not out of pocket to work with a lawyer. It's not out of pocket to work with an accountant. Not to say when you are incorporated, all the filing that you have to do every year, whether or not you are in business or not in business, these are money that you're already starting spending on the business without even having revenues. So it's important for you to consider all of that. I'm an entrepreneur myself, so it's a very painful situation to keep spending and not even having the first sale in yet. So you really want to prepare yourself for success and then consider all these costs when you go out to start asking for funding. And the third point is very important, especially for those that are looking for shareholders, looking for partners, board of directors, mentors. You really need to set up monthly meeting to discuss the finances. When I worked as a financial analyst, this was 60% of my job was to sit and meet with upper manager to discuss the budget. And it may feel super boring or no, but when people give you the money, when you get funding, when you get money from investors or even families or partners, you have responsibilities. It comes with expectations. It is a contract. People are giving you money, they are expecting something in return. And it is part of your responsibility as a founder or a CEO to have these meetings with the different shareholders in the company to keep them updated and also hear for what they have to say, hear from their feedback and their advice as well, right? So once you think about these 3 points, it is important to have it in place when you start launching, because those will be continued work after you launch. You're not just stopping at launching. You keep building those relationships with your bank, with your investors, with your bank, with different organizations, with partners, and you really want to set up that foundation from the get-go to make sure that you establish a strong launch and a strong foundation to run a successful business. Now it's the part where we talked about launch. So those points were really prepping you on the administrative stuff that you need to understand. Once you've written a business plan, what you need to do, raise fund, make sure you register your business, make sure that you surround yourself with experts and mentors, keep connecting. Once you've done that part, you now are ready to start working on launching, on making the first sale, on presenting your platform to customers. And the most important thing that you have to understand is the stage. As a startup, there's different stages. You have the validation and ideation, which is mostly done when you write the business plan, when you do the marketing strategy, and you have all these assumptions confirmed. Now, the second point is execution. And this is what this topic is about, helping you execute your business plan. Now, once you've launched, we talked about scaling and then reaching the top, meaning that at that point, you are already an established, you move from the status to startup to becoming an actual venture. How to plan for a successful launch. So you really want to consider these 3 points because it becomes a project management. So you need a timeline. You need a date of launch. You can't keep putting that and say, oh, we're going to launch next month. Okay, no, we're going to launch this month. You need to think in your head that, okay, this is a timeline I'm giving myself. I have to launch, pick a date in coordination with your team. Make sure that this date is something that can work. And you think that it's a solid date, because you don't want to announce a launch date and come back and say, no, we're not launching that day, and withdraw invitation and stuff like that, especially if you are tying your launch to an event and you really want to make it grandiose. You want to make sure that you pick a good date that is realistic. Second point, you want to establish a delivery date as well for each step. Like I've said, if you've developed a prototype, you want to have a date for when the prototype is ready. If you have a ready prototype, you want to have a date for when testing can begin. And for each stage, designate a lead. You are the founder, you are not an expert in everything. If you are not the one building the prototype, then pick someone that has the skill to conduct that section of the project successfully. Now that you've considered these 3 points, there's 2 other points to work on an execution plan. We have the go-to-market strategy, which was already highlighted in your business plan, that this is the moment you start acting on what was on the business plan. So you want to establish a strong brand identity. If you don't have a website, if you haven't built a website so far, this is the moment where you want to have a website. You want to establish visibility on social media, on platform. Make sure you work with a professional photographer. I know people take it simple and say, oh, I can just take a picture with my cell phone of my product. But when you're preparing for launch, you want to give out your best. This is probably the only chance that you will have to have a massive upcoming of customers and partners if you're tying that to an event. So you really want to give yourself enough chances to be successful. So make sure that you build your identity already, your brand. Maybe contract. We talked about hiring employee. If you're a startup and you're not quite sure that you have the funding yet, or you didn't get the funding to hire people, consider contracting expert. You have marketing experts, you have event planners, you have brand guides. So this is a very marketing aspect. And if you feel that you don't have the skill, make sure that you outsource and you get the coaching required to start building your presence. And again, refer to your business plan as much as you can, because this is the section where you have to go back and think about what your vision is. Your logo, is your logo really addressing your customer? What type of customer? Like we talked about your buyer persona, marketing. So this is the moment where you really want to think, okay, where is my customer? Are they on LinkedIn? Okay, then I need to build my brand identity on LinkedIn. I need to make sure that everybody in LinkedIn is seeing that there's something happening on my business. If it's Instagram, you want to already start having followers. TikTok, same. And all of these things do not cost a thing. Especially brand identity is probably the most cheapest thing you can do when you launch your business, is to start establishing your brand and making sure that people know that you are coming to market and start building excitement. These are again, very marketing driven. We talked about that when we had the business developer coming and explaining how you can really target a niche market. So you want to attract, because at the end of the day, the goal of launching is to make sure that your customer know that you are on the market. You are coming for a specific share of the market. So you start building your presence, attract customer. And those are a few examples to attract customers. If you are using a website, make sure that you've set up your SEO properly. Make sure that when people Google you, they see already the website coming, and work again with an expert to build that up on your website. Engage with your audience if you have a social media. Don't just post stuff and never engage. If you post a reel, make sure that if people are commenting, make sure you engage. Talk about your lunch, saying, yes, we are launching this day. We really want you to come. So you really want to engage. This is a marketing aspect of executing your business plan. And it is a huge part of making money, of selling. Because if you do not have a customer, at the end of the day, you don't have a business. So all efforts should be converting into bringing attention on your product, making sure that your platform is working, making sure if it's your e-commerce, making sure that you've tightened all the different stages from the customer, from the first step to the final step where they finally purchase. Make sure that everything is tight. Build excitement, answer inquiry. If people are sending you an email, and especially if you're driving a business that is community oriented and people are asking you questions, you want to make the customer feel like they matter, the potential customer feel like they matter. Remember your unique value of proposition. This is the moment where you want people to remember that about you, to be excited for when you come to market. 5 tips to plan for a successful launch. Like I've mentioned, it is a very overwhelming process. It is not easy because this is when you're making the call, you're working with contractors, you're making sure that everything is in alignment with the business plan and what you're doing. So you really want to make sure that the customer is at the center when you start prepping for launching. Many businesses will consider an incentive, and you've talked about that when you explain your marketing strategy. This is the moment where you make that happen. This is the moment where you finalize partnerships with the suppliers, and you think about, okay, I'm gonna start with the promo. You think of a way to make that moment remember for your potential customer. Make sure that you set goals for your launch. Are you expecting to have quality customer like your early adopters? If this is your goal, then you want to make sure that you are targeting your early adopters in your marketing strategy. You want to make sure that it is targeting the right people, because you don't want to have, if you tie your launch to an event, you don't want to have the wrong people visiting your page the first day. You want your early adopters. You want the people that said, yes, I'm going to buy that the day you launch. So make sure that you keep building those connections and keep building those relationships before the big moment. Be present, network, whether it's online or physical, be present. Online marketing is extremely important, and it is a huge, big tool that drives sales. So make sure that you have an online presence. It doesn't matter what product you are selling, whether it's pharmaceutical or it is an e-commerce or product, food. It's a very easy global entry to getting to know what you are doing. And it has to be properly done. You have to make sure that this is not something you slack on, and you work with the appropriate team to make sure that you have an online presence and a physical presence as well. If you are operating out of an office, you want to make sure that you have your office set up for the first customer, for the first client. You probably want to work with an interior designer. All of these things will make customer remember about you. And that's what you want. And when you go back to the sales funnel, you want to attract, you want to retain, and that's how you make a strong impression for that launch. You want to make sure that the customer leaves out of here thinking, wow, I really want to talk about your product to all my friends, or this, I really want to bring it to my partners, whether it's a B2B or a B2C, you want to leave a strong impression. The other thing is to acknowledge the customer feedback. During the launch, even after you launch a business, there's room to do it better. People want to feel heard. And you have customers saying, I don't like your product. I don't like that color. I don't like this. Don't take it, for a successful launch, you want to take into consideration people's feedback and bring it to the team. Not all feedback will be constructive, but you still have to take a look at the feedback and pick those that are constructive to keep working on your strategy and do better the next time. Start small. That is probably my best tip. It seems like most of entrepreneurs think that, okay, the first day I'm going to have 1 million people coming on my website, or 1 million people coming to my shop, or 1 million people buying my product. And it doesn't happen like that. So take a deep breath. One sale matters as long as you put all your work, you wrote the business plan, you executing your strategy. Make sure that you are not leaving the room feeling like a failure because your sales are not hitting the market right away. So if you are in a pre-testing phase and you're still launching, still take those sales and keep building on engagement and take the feedback and keep working your way to increasing your sales. So don't feel overwhelmed. It's a road to selling after you launch. There's another step like we've talked about, but we're not going to dive into that today. But any question you may have, feel free to always book a meeting if you are at a stage where you've officially launched and now you're looking to scale. And I'm going to talk about a very important experience for that section of working your business plan or executing your plan. It's called the Valley of Death. So it is that season where, like I said, you've launched, but there's no sale. It's not aligning with the revenues that you've planned, that you've projected, or the cost that you've planned or projected are a little bit higher than the reality. So you are finding yourself in a crucial decision moment. And it happens a lot. We've mentioned that 90% of startups fail. And this is a picture of what that failure looks like. You've launched, but it's not working. What do you do? It is very important to learn how to shift, how to take feedback from the customer, how to go back to your segmentation. Maybe you targeted the wrong market. And again, the business plan was really up there. Like we've talked, you do your industry research, you talk to people, everybody's like, yes, we want you in business. We want to see you succeed. But now that you're in business, all of a sudden, there's no sales. All of a sudden, it's not aligning with your projection. So it's that ability to quickly regroup and think about a way to either improve the product or maybe change direction. And you can talk to many entrepreneurs that will tell you that once they started to face the valley of death, they had to go back and rethink very fast because you don't want to lose that momentum and you still want to be able to fulfill your financial responsibility, especially if you had a loan or if you have investors that are looking for positive cash flow. This is the moment where you have to think about pivoting. And again, it doesn't happen overnight. It's a process to facing that valley and finding ways to up those sales. It's not just one strategy. It's not just, I need to have more funds. It's a combination. And that's why in marketing, we call it a mix. It's just not one action that you need to take. You need to look at your data, your analytical data. Let's just see what has happened from the people that clicked on the website versus the people that ended up purchasing. You want to take a look at the demographic of the people. You want to take a look at the experience from the users and going back and making the customer the center again of that process, because without any sales, there's no business. And pivot and rethink your business model. Maybe you were supposed to charge a little bit more and you didn't. So how can you adjust your pricing without shocking your existing customers? So this is the moment where you have to be able to respond in action, whether up your price or look for new partnerships, maybe look for grants. So it's a process, and we are here to support you. There's a lot of people in the community to support you if you are going through the death valley as an entrepreneur. But don't give up. Few takeaways from today. It's a very passionate topic. I could talk for hours, but the first step is to know that you have a plan, follow your plan. This is why we cannot stress enough about the importance of writing a business plan or having a lean version of your business, because it really highlights how you need to navigate risk, how you need to conduct yourself, how you need to tackle your marketing strategy. So you want to make sure that you follow the plan. You want to make sure that there's no perfect time. This is another big fearful moment where you have to tell yourself, I think my product is good enough to be exposed. Because if you're a perfectionist, if you are someone that is very fearful, and we talk about doubt as being the first mindset killer, if you feel like you're very doubtful, you want to be able to overcome that and launch your business. Worst thing can happen. Maybe people are not into that, or maybe the sales are not driving, but you want to make sure that you have a good financial strategy. You want to make sure that you didn't already spend the 100K that you got as a loan. So if you feel like a doubtful person, you're not quite sure, start on a micro level. Don't go out there as venture to give you thousands of money, unless you have to. And there's some industries that require a huge influx of money. If that's the case, still find a way to do those testing, find a way to make sure that you have very strong feedback from customers, from potential partner, and bring those results to an investor and say, okay, now the numbers may not be looking quite like the projections, but we are strongly confident that within the next month, we are going to increase, we are going to hit the market. So you really want to provide that confidence as well. If you are working with lenders and investors, you want to make sure that, okay, those numbers are not the end, just give me more time, and make sure that you still drive awareness on your product, on your service. Delegate. As a founder, you are not expected to be Superman. You have your skills, make sure that you focus on what you can do best, and delegate other tasks to contractors or other members of the team, knowing that they can also exceed and excel in their lane. Negative feedback is still feedback. You want to keep improving your customer, your UX experience, so user experience. You want to keep improving your product functionality, and take all these feedback and keep working. And again, it's an experiment. As a startup, sometimes you will learn it will be successful, and sometimes it will be not as successful as you expected. But this is the moment where you redefine what failure means to you, and you keep learning and you keep improving. So it's almost time. I had a great time talking about this topic with you all. Make sure you register for our upcoming webinar. It's on mental health. As entrepreneur, we are very exposed to struggling with our mental health. So you really don't want to miss that one. And feel free to book a meeting. If you have any questions, if you want to discuss further on the topic of today, I would love to chat with you. And lastly, Q&A. I'm gonna quickly go through the Q&A just to see if I have any questions. Okay, so we don't have any questions, and thanks again for joining us. We will conclude for today. I really appreciate you taking the time to join us, and I hope this topic was insightful for you. If you have any questions, I'm here. I would love to connect with you, and I wish you a good rest of the day. The webinar is recorded. It will be posted on the website, so always go back and take a look, revisit what was discussed. If you have any questions, feel free to join us. But yes, have a good rest of the day, and we're gonna conclude for today. Thank you, everyone, for